but Prez couldn't get one on the first ball in the 10th. That would have put Kury under a great deal more pressure. But now here's John Sullivan.
Yes, John Sullivan of Victoria, the leading qualifier, will have one practice ball on each of the 2 lanes being used for these finals. And there's some of the information about John Sullivan. Won the Sydney Cup in 1980, was a member of the, or won the International Asian Zone gold medal in 1980, second in the 82 Australian Open, won the Melbourne Cup in 83, and is a member of this year's Australian team to the World Championships.
And John Sullivan, a fantastic performance today, as we said before. We'll probably say it again, a 223 average, and that is really great shooting.
Well, he's had high games in this tournament of 257 and 267 back-to-back. He also had a 268 and a 258. That's great bowling.
Yes, and he won 12 of those 15 matches, and winning 12 out of 15 in the field of the colour that we had today is no mean feat, but he was just bowling so beautifully. I think his lowest game was 190, and he only had 3 games under 200. So Sullivan now, a chance to represent Australia in the Bowling World Cup for the first time, and that's an amazing thing too, because John's been around for a long time, one of Australia's greatest bowlers of all time. Here we go, first ball.
First ball of the final 2 games of the men's tournament. And what a good start for John Sullivan.
And his ball, much straighter trajectory than the other 2 men that we've just seen. His ball almost goes straight down the lane. We'll see the contrast between him and Tom Kury.
Yes, Kury hooks his ball a lot, brings it in from the outside of the lane.
Oh, a nice start. Yes. Gee, I'd like to have another look at that strike. And here we go. You watch this ball go in light, and it rips that 5. There goes the 5 pin and smashed the pins into the side wall.
So both have begun with strikes. Now it's John Sullivan of Victoria.
It's that ball much straighter, isn't it? John is a full roller ball. That means that the ball tracks between the thumb and the finger holes, whereas Tom Kury's, and there we go, there's John's hand position for that full roller, comes straight behind his back and then comes out of it quite early, but a good follow through and good balance at the line.
He has the 6 and 10 pins to knock down to convert that second frame, and he's done that. So he's 20 in the first frame with a spare in the second frame.
Yes, Tom Kury, as I was saying, bowls a semi-roller, and his ball tracks outside of the thumb and the finger holes. Quite a different release, and that's all brought about by where the arm and the wrist are positioned at the release point. Tom, a bit of trouble early.
Left a nasty one, the 6, 7 and 10.
Yes, 3 and quite a long way between those 2 pins. He has to hit the faint right-hand side of the 6 pin and slide it right across that 42-inch wide lane to collect the 7. It's not impossible, but on national television it makes it just that little much harder.
Yes, the pressure is really on these bowlers in these conditions. Well, he gave it a go, but left the 7 pin standing, so that's an open frame. So he's 28 now in the second frame.
And John Sullivan. Mr. Magic is his nickname in Melbourne, and he certainly has some big scores. He's the Australian record holder for 3 games with a series of 834. Ooh, tough break that.
Yes, that's not a terribly easy one either, the 4-9.
Well, not particularly when it could have been a strike. But Sullivan bowled well all day. I can't see any reason why he won't continue that sort of form.
This time he has to hit the 4 pin on the left side and slide it across to take out the 9 pin.
Giving it a go.
Oh, and he's missed it.
Oh, yeah.
It was too fine.
As they say in the classics, another coat of paint on that pin, and he might have just touched it, but slid past the 4 pin, and he's opened the 3rd frame now, so Kury can take the lead if he stays clean.
John Sullivan, 46 in the 3rd frame.
Ooh, that's wide.
There's another quite nasty one for Tom Kury.
The wheels have fallen off Tom's game a little bit. He hung on to beat Sil Prez, but split in the second frame, and now he's left this nasty cluster of 4, the 1, 2, the front 2 pins, and the 8 and the 10 at the back, and a tough spare.
Can he do it?
No, not with that shot.
No.
Oh, he's got it!
Oh, he has.
Did you see that?
Yes, it came off the back.
Unbelievable. I think we'll change that Mr. Magic tag and give it to Tom Kury. Watch this pin, hit the side and hit the back, and it takes the 10 pin out. Unbelievable. Look at Tom.
Well,
a happy man with that.
And why not?
It's given him the lead. John Sullivan now. Oh, good face there.
Yes.
I tell you what, that face looked like a strike. Watch this one. It's a totally different ball. Goes straight down the middle, and he's been doing that all day.
So Sullivan 46 in the third frame with a strike in the fourth. Tom Kury 28 in the second with a spare in the third. Possible 48 in the third frame. And he's got it. Strike, so he's 48. He's 2 pins in front. Only 2 pins in it. Kury 48, Sullivan 46. So there's the strike.
That's the 4 pin, the last one to go. A high hit, but good roll on the ball. Sullivan now taking his time. Good concentration. An extended fingertip grip on his ball. Only the tips of his fingers in there. That looks pretty good. Good shot under pressure. And that ball really sliding out past and then coming back into the strike pocket. Totally different game to Tom Kury's. 42 boards on the lane, and Tom's using most of them, and John Sullivan using about 3 or 4 of them. Shooting straight down the middle. Tom, bad balance there, but he struck all the same, and that keeps him up in the lead by those 2 pins on the Brooklyn side.
48 against 46 in the third frame. Both have strikes in the fourth and fifth. Kury 2 pins in front.
Back now with Sullivan. Second in the Melbourne 10-pin cup to the American Dave Davis a couple of months ago. Oh, boy, wonder why that happened. That was a good shot, a good release. Everything seemed to be going well, but the 2-pin jumped over the top of those 4-7 instead of carrying them. And Sullivan's got to go for the spare. Let's have a look at his grip. Only just gets the tips of his fingers in. Nice and steady on the push away. That's the way to do it. I see so many bowlers in the centres, John, and they pick the ball up on their first ball, and they just sort of swing it around a little bit, and they take off at all sorts of times. You've got to be steady on that push away, and John Sullivan, a perfect example of that.
Well, the spare provided no problems for him. He's 94 in the fifth frame with that spare in the sixth. And I thought that was looking like another strike there for Tom Kury, but...
Well, Tom did too, but he had that Brooklyn in the fifth frame, and he was smiling to himself before. I think he was pretty happy to get away with that strike in the fifth frame. So he'll cop that 10-pin. All right. Got to shoot across lane for it, and he'll be about 3 pins ahead if he gets the spare. Look at that gadget. It's almost like a rack on his wrist there.
Yes, he's got it.
Boy.
So the lead is now 3 pins, 97 for Kury, 94 for Sullivan in the fifth frame. Both have spared the sixth.
And Tom Kury looks quite relaxed, even though he just won that first match, and he's up against John Sullivan for a big prize money. There's more than $4,400 at stake in this game, plus a trip to Mexico City. Sullivan back now.
Well done. There's a strike again from Sullivan.
Yes. Beautiful shots.
All of his strikes have been
all the same.
Identical, yes.
Yes, and he's been doing it just in such good touch today. Tom Kury now. That looks pretty good. Yes, he's got that one. And the 6-pin had plenty of spin applied to it by the great rolling ball. And watch this 6-pin touch the 10 and knocks it out.
So it's still 3 pins, 117 to 114 in the 6th frame. Kury 3 pins in front.
And Kury looks like he's found form again. That last couple of shots were very good.
This is Sullivan.
Sullivan's pulled that one a little high. Got plenty of supporters in the crowd, John Sullivan. He's a popular bowler.
When you say high, Steve, of course you mean 2 full on that
yes, 2
first
full
pin.
on the 1 pin.
Yes, the 1 pin.
All the pins are numbered 1 to 10 in a triangular fashion. The 1 pin's the pin up front, of course. And John now going for the pin numbers 4 and 7, shooting cross lane at this. And covered that, of course. 134 now in the 7th frame for John Sullivan, and Tom Kury with a couple of good pocket hits in the last 2 shots. A 10-pin spare and then a strike. If he can keep up this revival of form, he could take a small lead here. He's already a couple of pins ahead. If he gets another strike, he'll be more than a mark up. And, as we said, the bent elbow of Tom Kury doesn't seem to affect him too much because he's very consistent with it. One of a couple of the world's greatest bowlers, Don Carter and Earl Anthony of America, both of those have bent elbows, and they've won more than $1 million each in their careers. So Tom probably won't win that much here in Australia, but he's learned to work with that slightly bent elbow, and it doesn't affect him at all.
And he needs this pair to retain that 3 pins lead. And no problems. 137 to 134 in the 7th frame, and both have spares in the 8th.
Yes, we've had big crowds here all week at Bankstown Bowl watching some great bowling. There's more than 500 in attendance today, and we had 600 people here yesterday for the tournament, attracting bigger crowds every year. Back now with Sullivan. A good shot. Well, that was slightly different, John. He went a little bit higher that time, but the ball was going into the right place. Watch this. Almost straightens out. Crash.
That ball is 16 pounds. It's amazing how it moves around when it gets in there amongst the pins. Kury now.
There's that bent elbow. But doesn't affect him. And only 7 now for Kury on that delivery, and that ties the game up. 154 apiece, and Tom has 3 pins to go for. Not easy. 3, 6 and the 10.
Yes, they're both 154 in the 8th frame.
And our new scoring techniques here for the TV program today, giving us an exact profile of the score. Good spare.
Yes, well done.
Yes, perfect placement then in between the 3 and the 6. The 6-pin took the 10-pin out.
And now Sullivan with the opportunity with the strike in the 9th, and he's going into the 10th frame now. That was that spare by Kury. Very well done. Now it's Sullivan. 154 in the 8th, strike in the 9th, and this is the first ball of his 10th frame.
He can take the lead.
Oh, no. Well, we saw the 3-10 split converted in the first match by Silvano Prez. Now can John Sullivan do it? He needs it at this stage of this game.
Yes, he certainly does. It's in the 10th frame. He needs to get the spare to get that bonus ball shot in, and taking his time on this one. Beautiful stylist. And he's got it.
Yes. I thought for a moment he was a little full on that the front pin. But
yes, he almost did. Let's have a look at it again. The ball bounces off. See, that 16-pound ball, and hit a 3.5-pound pin and still bounced away. Kury now up in the 10th frame. He needs a strike to keep a tie. Got to be a strike. Yes, he's got it.
Yes. Well, this is going to be very interesting.
Watch this one, right in the pocket, under pressure. Beautiful shot. That's one of the best he's had all day. bonus ball in the 10th frame. Needs a strike. Yes,
got
good
it
shot.
for a 194 game.
194, yes. And Kury now, if he gets a spare, he'll have a 194 game also. And if he gets a strike, he'll be a leader with one game to go. This is an important one for Kury.
Certainly
a strike will give him the lead. Looks pretty good.
Oh,
a little bit of a weak 10 pin.
So he now should finish with a 194, the same as Sullivan, and it couldn't be tighter than that.
It certainly couldn't. It would be a horrifying situation for both bowlers if they tied this game for a trip to Mexico City and $2,700 to the winner, $1,750 to the loser. I just hope for their sakes that they don't become involved in that.
Oh, and he's in the gutter and missed it.
Kury,
so he finishes with a 193, and that gives Sullivan a 1-pin lead going into the second of the two games. 194 to Sullivan, 193 to Kury. And look at Kury. He can't believe it.
Fancy missing the 10 pin.
Can't believe that he put the ball in the gutter.
Yes, he wouldn't miss it too often. And there we go. It's going the right way, but I think he dropped it a little bit, and it's just off the gutter, about 58 feet down the lane.
So it's a 1-pin lead to John Sullivan as Kury sends down the first delivery of the second game.
Oh,
he's
dear
left
me.
the almost impossible 7-10. The 2 pins at the back of the pin deck couldn't be further apart.
And did
on
you
the
see
same
Tom's
line.
reaction? Perfect reaction for a shot like that.
I
Leaving
believe that
7-10.
this was converted recently, Steve.
Yes,
the
Tony
7-10.
Roderick spared it in the match play this afternoon. He smashed into the 10 pin and it jumped back on the lane and took the 10. Well, I guess Tom will be hoping that that could happen now. But a tough break for him. Only one.
He's just taken out the 10 pin, so he's opened the first frame. His score is 9. In the open frame, the bowler scores only what he has knocked down with the 2 balls, and so that's 9 to Kury in the first frame of the second game. Well, that gives Sullivan the opportunity now.
Yes, good opportunity, and let's see how he opens up. Not a good shot, but it's a strike all the same.
Yes, crossed over, got that Brooklyn strike, and he's happy with that.
Look where the ball's going. It goes to the left of the 1 pin. It's called a Brooklyn in bowling terms, and it's a strike, but he wouldn't be too happy with that. And Tom particularly wouldn't be happy with his opponent getting a Brooklyn after he's just buried it and left a 7-10 split. And that split seems to have unnerved Kury a little bit. He's left 3 pins now. Didn't get any fingers on that ball at all. It slid pretty well all the way down the lane, and he's left 3 pins up to go for.
But this is not a difficult spare, not a difficult conversion. The 2, 4 and 5.
Yes, Tom standing in front of the spare to go for it, straight in front. He'll bowl straight down at it. And, oh dear.
Oh, he's gone wide. Oh, left 2 pin standing. That's 2 open frames, a 9 and an 8 for 17 in the second frame.
Tom's letting it get away from him a little bit here. John Sullivan has had a strike in the first frame. He can take a nice big lead if he can get one now. A little bit tentative when he let the ball go. He dragged it in a little bit towards his target, but still a good result. Left only the 4 pin standing. But he'll be about 20 pins ahead, John, if he can get this fair.
Those 2 open frames by Tom Kury could virtually have decided this match. An 8 and a 9.
Although we've seen Kury get strikes before all day today, and in the match against Prez he had a string of strikes, so he needs to start that up again. 20 now for Sullivan in the first frame, as opposed to Kury's 17 in the second.
Remember that Sullivan went into the second game with a lead of 1 pin. 194 to 193 in the first game.
And there's Tom's disastrous score sheet. 2 open frames in a row. Oh, and lucky to break up a split there. Tom's just got to get his game together now. He's got to start thinking clearly again. He's very disappointed leaving that 7-10 split from a pocket hit, because he had found a bit of form towards the end of that game. But now he must start getting some spares and strikes. Only 8 frames to go before we know who will represent Australia this year at the Bowling World Cup tournament in Mexico City. Bowling right across the lane. And he laid that one down a little bit early, but no problems. They've got the spare for him all the same. And Sullivan now coming up in the 3rd frame, taking meticulous.
And there's Kury's score, 17 in the 2nd frame with that spare in the 3rd.
Back now with Sullivan. Good shot.
Yes, that looked good all the way. So that's 40 in the 2nd frame. And a strike in the 3rd.
And that was it.
Yes, a good strike. So the lead there is 23 pins in this game, 24 overall to John Sullivan.
That's a better shot by Tom Kury. Didn't result in a strike, but he'd be happy with that after missing a spare and then getting an 8 spare. Kury, 36 in the 3rd. And he's in the same position that Silvano Prez was in, and Prez came back strongly to only just lose that match by 8 pins. Just joined us, Silvano Prez of South Australia took 3rd place in the tournament.
Yes. Well done. 36 in the 3rd frame, Tom Kury, with a spare in the 4th. But Sullivan is 40 in the 2nd with a strike in the 3rd.
John Sullivan, 36 years of age. He's won some big Australian titles. His first was in 1977 at the Ardith Cup. Good balance at the line. Ooh, yeah. Yes, a couple of wobbly pins there, but they didn't go over. Sullivan studying the lane. Why did it go high? He's gone high on that lane twice now. Spare for Sullivan.
So Sullivan is 60 in the 3rd frame as against 36 for Tom Kury. The overall lead now is 25 pins, 24 in this game.
And Kury's got to start something if he wants to become another bowler to have won the South Pacific Classic twice. He's a 1978 winner. That's not bad. Oh, will it go?
Oh, almost.
Well, that's 2 good shots in a row now. 2 good shots for Kury, and both of them resulting in 9-pin counts. And let's have a look at what happened to this 4-pin. The ball just bounced a little bit. There's the pin bouncing, I should say. The ball bit quite sharply as it neared the pins. But now a single pin to go for Kury. He's not catching up anything with these spares, but he's had 2 good shots in a row that could have been strikes. Under normal circumstances, under pressure, of course, a little harder.
There's his score, 55 in the 4th frame with a spare in the 5th.
Back now with Sullivan. Look at that, eyes down on the lane, reaching out for the target. That's a bad shot by Sullivan. And Kury's picked up a couple of pins because
that's
of
right.
that.
It's 77 to Sullivan in the 4th frame. And he has this spare, the 1, 2 and 8 pins. Again, the 8 pin is a sleeper directly behind the 2. And that's not always as easy as it looks to convert. And he's missed it. He left the sleeper, the 8 pin. So he's opened the frame. He's 86 in the 5th frame. 86. Now this is a chance for Kury to pick up. He's 55 in the 4th. He has a spare in the 5th.
Yes, he can pick up about 10 of the pins here, and he's squeezing his fingers in there. He wants to have a good feel on the ball. He knows this is going to be a good shot. He's had 2 in a row now, both 9 spares. And that's a good one. Oh, and again, will he? No, it didn't quite make it. That's 3 good shots. I like Tom's balls under pressure here. They're going right into the right place, not striking for him yet. But only 13 pins behind now. 74 in the 5th frame for Tom Kury. Ominously strikeless after that.
Oh, and he's done it again.
Dear,
For the second time, has put the ball in the gutter and missed the 10-pin.
Yes, it's an amazing game. Kury had 8 strikes in that first game against Silvano Prez for 247, but he's gone now 6 frames without a strike.
Now, so that open frame to Kury has put Sullivan back into a healthy position. He's 86 in the 5th frame as against Kury's 83 in the 6th.
And Sullivan almost carried a strike that time, but he's left himself only the 8-pin to go for. And he's taking his time. He knows that Tom's in trouble. He's missed 2 10-pins. He could have had 3 strikes in a row, Kury, but never struck on any of them. And Sullivan a spare in the 6th frame. So he'll get that 23 or 24-pin lead back now, and Kury just has to start striking somehow or other. He's got to do it right now. He's only got 6 frames to go.
Tom Kury of Queensland, 2nd qualifier in the finals of the South Pacific Classic. In trouble.
And yet another 9. That's 4 9 counts in a row. And he missed that 10-pin in the last frame. That's twice he's missed that in this match against John Sullivan. Could be costly. And the spectators there contemplating what might happen in the last few frames. And the spare that time for Kury.
That
in
one
the
was no
7th
problem.
frame.
83 in the 6th frame with a spare in the 7th. A possible 106 here for Sullivan in the 6th frame. It's 106 whatever he leaves standing with this ball, less whatever he leaves standing.
Oh, good
And
shot.
it's a strike, so that's his 106. A lead of 23 pins in this game, 24 overall.
Sullivan studying the score sheet very carefully. Plus 24. Tom Kury. He's up against it. Oh dear.
Oh, that's a nasty
Tom's
one.
in big trouble.
Yes, the 2 and 10 for Tom Kury.
He's just lost his concentration, John. That 7-10 split, he really hasn't recovered from leaving that nasty one in the first frame, and he hasn't had a strike. 8 frames we've gone now without Tom getting a strike.
Oh dear.
Well, he gave it a go.
Yes, he was trying to convert that one, slide the 2 across to the 10. As you said earlier, another coat of paint on the pin,
Yes.
and he might have done it.
Tom a bit dejected now, and John Sullivan, all he has to do is stay clean. He's had a strike. He'd like a double, but not quite. That 4-pin seems to be stuck down. He and Kury both leaving a couple of 4-pins now, but he'll be a big leader going into the 9th frame.
Yeah, well, he's 106 now in the 6th frame with a strike in the 7th, and he needs this pin, the 4-pin, for his spare in the 8th. Yes, that's the spare. So it's 126 in the 7th frame for John Sullivan against 109 in the 8th frame for Tom Kury.
And Tom's finally had a strike, and good for him. Strike in the 9th frame. Well, his only hope now is to strike out, and Sullivan looks pretty good. Sullivan's got a big lead. Back now with Sullivan. Oh, boy, did you see that 7-pin stand?
Oh, well, that was looking good, wasn't it, going down the lane?
Unbelievable.
So these are not going to be particularly high games by these bowlers.
Well, when they're under pressure, John,
yes,
it's very hard out there.
I was going to make that point. The conditions are such that there is tremendous pressure on these bowlers. A lot of prize money, and that trip to Mexico City to represent Australia in the World Cup. And Sullivan spares the ninth frame. He's 145 in the 8th, spare in the 9th.
Well, Tom Kury up now in the 10th frame, and Tom's only hope is to strike out here. He's had a strike in the 9th frame. This is his 10th. He's got to get 3 strikes here to have an outside chance of victory. There's the first one. Tom a little more relaxed now because the pressure is really off him. I mean, it's going to be very difficult for him to win. Sullivan would really have to throw a bad shot now to give Kury a chance. And that doesn't look too bad to me. That's just enough, I think. 9 on the first ball in the 10th for Sullivan. Kury can go all the way for 169. Here's his second ball in the 10th. And Kury is going to lose this game just by a few pins, and he's going to lose the tournament by just a few pins.
Yes, he's 139 in the 9th frame. A possible 169 total as against a possible 194 again for John Sullivan.
And there's Sullivan spare in the 10th, and that we'll see John going to Mexico City to represent Australia for the first time at the Bowling World Cup. And Tom Kury now going through the motions, finishing with 3 strikes and a 9 for 168.
168, and a total over the 2 games of 361. Sullivan had a 194 first game. He's got a possible 184 now in the second game. 184 less whatever he leaves standing with this ball. So it's a 182 for a total of 376, and he's a winner by 15 pins over the 2 games. So John Sullivan of Victoria wins the trip to Mexico City to represent Australia in this year's World Cup. Well done, John Sullivan. What a great tournament it's been for him. High games in this tournament of 257, 258.